Cheryl Jeffery. My background is in pretty much hardcore manufacturing, so high engineering manufacturing, so plastic injection molding, sheet metal, fiber optics, electronics.
Okay.
What was my next question?
Why private equity?
Why
makes
private
you
equity?
interested in private equity?
So I think one of the big things that has been interesting is working in manufacturing, especially in the companies I've been in. Private equity tends to come in somewhere in my career cycle.
Okay.
So private equity has come in, or they've ran a company. What I've always found is that those private equity companies don't come in with typically the expertise, so they lean on someone like me to provide that expertise. So I like that kind of a partnership where I can bring the years of experience. I can go onto a plant floor and say, that machine isn't making money, that one is, and break it down and understand the reasons why, right? Where a private equity can then help potentially from that higher level, help kind of maneuver you through some of those choppy waters where typically an ops person lives down here. You know,
they elevate up.
Yeah, they help move you up.
Right.
Yep, and we think a different way. So it kind of changes your mindset slightly differently.
Okay. So what do you if you were, here I'm an exec, I'm kind of interested in private equity, don't know much about it, but I'm just used to the traditional corporate jobs. What's the value proposition of Blackmore and Blackmore Connects, and what they're doing, and what's it like being at these conferences, and why should I go, and why would anyone want to spend money when I never had to pay a dime in my life? It all was paid for, right? Corporate.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, and this is a lot to do with the credit on you, Gerald, is that it's not just one phone call, first of all, right? It's a series of phone calls that build upon the call before. So it's not just...
You're talking about what? Blackmore Connects provides coaching? What do you
coaching, mentoring, kind of behind the scenes of helping you maneuver through just that, like I said, that comment before of changing that mindset. Think differently, Cheryl. This is the way that you need to think, versus coming into that. I'm not... let me back up. One of the other things that I made a comment to you is I was concerned because I don't come from that CEO seat. I come from the VP of operations, the one that the CEO goes to and says, hey, go fix that, right? And then I'm off fixing it. I was reluctant because I didn't know that would be an attractive quality.
It is, yeah.
Now that I've talked to 3 or 4 private equities, I'm finding it completely the opposite of what I thought coming in.
Yes.
They do want those roll up the sleeve, those kind of people that get onto that plant floor if you're in that manufacturing.
That's right.
And be able to make that paradigm shift that you need. In the other thing is the speed in which you can do it, right? Yep. You can't do it over 5 years. Some cases you need to be able to make an immediate impact as you walk in that door.
Exactly. Yep.
So I think that was a big one. The other thing is I didn't know a whole lot about Blackmore Connects or even Blackmore Partner until I applied for a CEO position in the plastic industry, which is what my background was. And I was disappointed that I didn't get an opportunity, but very pleased on how the whole thing is progressing. So it's a step and it's a process. This is not going to be something overnight, but it helps build up that network. So the people that I met in this room will be hopefully...
Talk about the people in the room. Talk about the kind of people, the participants in the PE firms. What are you noticing?
So for the participants or the executives, it attracts a lot of people coming in that are in my boat. A lot of consultants, I call them seasoned, experienced people. So they're now in that 50, 60 range that are moving that career needle from one end to another. Really looking, if you put in that blood, sweat, equity, which is what I spent 30 years doing, of putting in my blood and my sweat, now wanting that financial return in play, right?
Yeah.
I've done it for you. I made you very wealthy. Now it's time to make me wealthy.
Yeah.
So that's helpful. The private equity firms, to going back to that other comment that you just made a comment on, the teams, I was very pleased to see that there were companies in there that are actually in my space. I hear healthcare, pharmaceutical. Those have been, I mean, those are the buzzwords that are going on right now. Everybody's trying to get into one of those niches, but it takes a manufacturing company to get you there.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
It has to be produced somewhere, somehow.
Yeah.
And that to me is where I think is the most important, is talking to some of these private equity firms that understand that those manufacturing companies really will make or break your supply chain, that ends up becoming that end result, which is where the big money is.
Yeah, that's right. So, what do you see as the next steps here? I mean, we talk about building your funnel. What do you see as your next steps that how are you gonna continue to grow out of it? Yeah, you meet a few handfuls of people. They all love manufacturing ops people, but still, it's all about timing. It's about having a big funnel. What are you gonna do?
So
What's your plan?
there's a couple things. As I consult, the ones that I'm talking to sell me is the CEOs or the owners of the company. So I think I'm going to shift my mind, instead of going in and wanting to sell me to fix a problem, more so coming in and going, oh, are these a great company to potentially buy? And
Good.
maybe
Do both at the same time.
yeah, maybe
Cash
not.
flow plus succession planning.
Yeah,
Think of it that way.
not put all of
How
my.
are they going to preserve their nest egg? Right? Like you said, if they're outmoded machines and they're not investing, eventually the people around them are going to basically take all their business.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, here's a great example, right? When I was running as the vice president for an aerospace company, our customer was going to take our business away because they wanted to put it into a lower producing manufacturing company. And what I said to them is, let's do something different. Let's do value add. Instead of manually welding all of the components that had 6 or 7 of my machines constantly running, let's take that and move it into a robotic welder. So let's take some of those components that we can easily put into a robotic welder, change the way, because you go from steel to aluminum, so you've got to do all sorts of other stuff to do it. And now I invested in a $500,000 robotic welding system, but was able to produce a lot faster. And at the end, the labor is at my welder, who's a skilled welder, putting those final touches. So my cost of my goods to make went down considerably after a 3-month turnaround. So my thinking is, I look at companies of going, how can you turn something from manual to automative? Where can you add AI? Where can you add conveyors?
Yes.
How can I reduce the labor and really put in more of that value add?
Brilliant. That's really great, but it takes Capex.
It takes Capex. So where do you start? So the question becomes is, how do you break those into morsels? One of the areas that I see as a big issue is their IT infrastructure. Small companies don't have an IT company. Typically, it's the finance team that buys the ERP system, usually for the P&L or the GL accounts, not for the manufacturing. My thing is, I go in and I think you really need to put in an ERP system in the manufacturing to help manage your labor and all of that. So then you can do better decision making.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing now, part of what you're going to be doing next is going, listen, here's where you're going to need to evolve. You're going to need cash flow. I'll bring in the cash.
Correct.
You can do that. Plus, we can start on something right now, but if you don't do it, we can eat around the corners, but eventually you're going to be eaten by your competition.
Yeah.
Because everything's moving, everyone's trying to get higher margins and at a lower cost. And it just keeps pushing, and the only way to do that is those type of things.
Correct.
My final recommendations are, make sure that you get in touch with Chris and keep going on this.
Yeah.
You're just to scratch the surface.
Yep.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me.